Imagine watching a man sit in a small grey room, staring into the camera and saying the words, "Yeah, I did it." Now imagine that same man weeks later walking out of a courthouse, free, no prison, no conviction, after confessing on video to a brutal crime. Tonight, we're going inside a case that shook a small American town. A case where the most powerful evidence seemed undeniable, until the courtroom twist no one saw coming. This story starts in the quiet town of Willow Creek, a place where people left their doors unlocked and waved at strangers. At the edge of town stood an old factory everyone knew. On a cold November night, a 911 call came in at 11:42 p.m. A security guard had found a body behind the Willow Creek mill. The victim was 26-year-old Emily Carter, a waitress at a nearby diner saving money for nursing school. Emily was found on the gravel near the factory's loading dock, badly beaten. Her purse was missing, her phone shattered nearby. There were no eyewitnesses, no working security cameras, and no murder weapon at the scene. For Willow Creek, this was a rupture in the town's sense of safety. Candlelight vigils popped up within days. Photos of Emily, smiling in her waitress uniform, sat by stacks of flowers. People wanted answers, and they wanted them fast. Police looked at Emily's last known movements. She clocked out of the diner at 11:15 p.m, and a co-worker saw her leave alone. Her usual shortcut home took her past the old mill. Somewhere in that 30-minute window, someone attacked her. Detectives went through her phone records and social media. There were no obvious threats or enemies. As pressure in town built, the local paper ran the headline, "Who Killed Emily Carter?" Within days, a name began to surface. 22-year-old local Daniel Miller. He lived 3 blocks from the diner and had a minor record for trespassing and shoplifting. But one detail caught the detectives' attention. Daniel had been seen near the old mill the night of Emily's death. A neighbor reported hearing 2 male voices arguing near the mill after 11:30. Another saw Daniel cutting through an alley toward home around midnight, walking fast. It wasn't proof, but in a town desperate for answers, it was enough for detectives to knock on Daniel's door. Daniel came to the station voluntarily 3 days after Emily's death. He wasn't under arrest and had no lawyer or parents with him. Just Daniel and 2 seasoned detectives in a windowless room. The camera in the corner switched on. This recording would later become the focus of the entire case. At first, Daniel denied being anywhere near the old mill.
Okay, yeah, I cut through that way sometimes, but I didn't see her. I swear I didn't see her.
For hours, the detectives questioned him. Daniel, still without a lawyer, seemed to think if he just kept talking, they'd believe him. But the detectives escalated their tactics, suggesting accidents and softer motives.
"We have surveillance footage of you near the mill. Your DNA is on Emily's jacket. We already know you were there, Daniel. The only question is whether you're going to be honest. Juries like honesty."
Worn down, Daniel's answers became short and weak.
I don't know. I don't remember, maybe.
The detectives shifted from asking what happened to telling him what happened, feeding him a narrative piece by piece.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe more than once.
Hours passed. The camera time stamp rolled past 8 p.m., then 9 p.m. Daniel's words were no longer his own, but quiet agreements to whatever picture the detectives painted.
"You were walking by the mill. You saw Emily. You 2 started arguing. You got frustrated. You hit her. You grabbed her purse and ran. You didn't mean to kill her. It was a mistake. Is that basically right? Say it clearly for the camera. Tell us what you did to Emily."
Yeah, I did it. I hit her. I took her purse. I did it.
What that camera did not record was the psychological journey that brought him to those words. But soon, the public would only see a tiny, powerful, and very different version of that story. Word of the confession spread faster than the actual facts ever could. The next morning, the local paper's headline read, "Suspect confesses to Emily's murder." A few days later, a local TV station aired a short clip from the interrogation video. "Yeah, I did it." That clip hit social media and exploded. On Facebook, people called him a monster and garbage. On Twitter, posts read, "He admitted it. Why even waste money on a trial?" Hashtags started spreading, "Shouted justice for Emily," "Should lock him up." Talk radio hosts in the region picked it up. They played the audio of Daniel's confession over and over, then ranted about crime, about soft justice systems, about the need to make an example of people like him. The town of Willow Creek transformed from a place full of grief to a place filled with anger. Businesses hung posters with Emily's photo in their windows, along with signs that read, "We believe the victim." Some went further, putting Daniel's mugshot next to hers with the word killer in red letters. Even people who had never met Emily felt like they knew the story inside and out. In their minds, this wasn't a mystery anymore. The confession had solved it. What most of them never heard about were the growing cracks in the case. The physical evidence was weak. DNA from the crime scene was mixed and unclear. Some belonged to Emily herself. Some belonged to people who had likely used the alley before. None of it matched Daniel conclusively. There were no fingerprints on Emily's shattered phone that could be tied to him. Her missing purse was never found. No one had seen Daniel with it. No blood-stained clothes were discovered in his home. But to the public, none of that mattered. They had seen the clip. They had heard him say, "I did it."
On the night of Daniel's arraignment, protesters gathered outside the courthouse. They held candles and signs. Some chanted, "No deals, no mercy."
We saw him confess on TV. Why are we even wasting time?
By the time jury selection started, many people in Willow Creek had already made up their minds. Daniel was guilty. The rest was just paperwork. But inside that courtroom, under very different rules and standards, a battle was about to begin. A battle over what that confession actually meant. In court, the prosecution's story was simple. They played the final hour of Daniel's interrogation, ending with his confession.
Daniel to camera. "Yeah, I did it. I hit her. I took her purse. I did it."
Prosecutor. Ladies and gentlemen, you just saw the defendant admit to killing Emily Carter with his own words.
But the defense argued that what the jury saw depended on where you started the tape. They got permission to show the entire 6-hour recording. An expert on false confessions explained the concept of a coerced compliant confession, where innocent people admit to crimes just to end the interrogation. He pointed to the detective's lies about DNA evidence and promises of leniency.
Defense. Did you ever tell Daniel that he was free to leave? Detective. No. Defense. Did you tell him that he had the right to a lawyer? Detective. No. Defense. You watched a 6-hour video of a young man being slowly convinced that the only way out of that room was to agree. Ask yourselves, is this confession trustworthy? Or is it what happens when the system cares more about closing a case than finding the truth?
Clerk, on the charge of first-degree murder, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Gasps filled the courtroom. Outside, outrage erupted. But inside, the standard wasn't a viral clip. It was reasonable doubt. After the trial, Daniel walked out of the courthouse a free man. Free, but not cleared in the eyes of his town. Some people still crossed the street to avoid him. Others whispered when he passed by. To them, the confession on that screen would always be more powerful than any expert, any cross-examination, any explanation of how false confessions work. The police department never reopened the case in any serious way. Officially, Emily's murder remains unsolved. Unofficially, many in Willow Creek still believe the right man got away. For Emily's family, there is no real closure. They lost their daughter, and then watched the case against the only suspect collapse in front of them. This case forces us to ask hard questions. When we see someone confess on camera, how sure can we really be that we're seeing the truth, and not just the end result of hours of pressure behind closed doors? Interrogation rooms are designed to get answers, but sometimes they get something else. Compliance, exhaustion, and desperate words from people who just want the questioning to stop. To the public, a recorded confession can look like the ultimate proof. To a courtroom, it is just one piece of evidence, and sometimes a very fragile one. In Willow Creek, people still remember the night Emily died, and the man who said, "Yeah, I did it." But the verdict in that courtroom reminds us of a disturbing reality. Not every confession means justice, and not every video shows the whole truth. If you found this case as disturbing as I did, and you want more deep dives into stories like this, take a second right now to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps more people see these cases, and it lets me know you want more true crime breakdowns just like this one. This is the story of a man who confessed on camera, then walked free. The question that still haunts Willow Creek is simple and terrifying. Did the system let a killer go, or did it almost destroy an innocent man? In a world where everything can be recorded, the hardest thing to capture is the truth.